You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
To try free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The Gary Harris Show. You see him host Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for The Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Tuesday, October 29th, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris. I got my main man, Chase Brumfeld, manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park hotline at 205-342-9904. Again, that number, 205-342-9904. Another gorgeous fall day here in West Alabama. Beautiful. We're starting to get some foliage. Still not quite as much, I think, as if we would have had some moisture earlier this month, and we've had some cool temps at night, but still not quite enough, I think, to really just make it radiant yet. But I am starting to see the trees turn, and just a beautiful time of the year, and Halloween just a couple of days away. And then you know what happens after that? We get into the holiday season as far as Thanksgiving and Christmas and start counting down to a new year. It's amazing how fast it goes by. It just gets faster. Gets faster every year, that's for sure. But welcome into the program. We got a good show on tap. I'm going to run it down here for you in just a second. Dive into some different sports topics that are making news. But first, I need to tell you this hour of the Gary Harris Show being brought to you, as always, by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. Find out the advantages yourself by going to alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com. A traditional banking institution is taking its profits and paying off its shareholders. Alabama Credit Union is taking its profits and returning them to you, the member, in the form of lower interest rates and higher dividends. Isn't that just a better way of banking? I think so. Alabama Credit Union. Loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, here's the Tuesday rundown. The Rocket Man, Rudy Armand, 977 ESPN Radio in Huntsville, will join us at 9:30. Of course, Alabama basketball in Huntsville last night for that charity game at the Von Braun Center, and Drew was there. He'll have a firsthand report on that, and we'll talk Bama football, of course, at 9:30 this morning with the Rocket Man, Rudy Armand. Then at 10:15, it's the Tennessee Titans report with Kayla Anderson, and the Titans just coming off an absolute brutal beatdown at the hands of the Detroit Lions this past Sunday, and it has gone south fast for the Titans. This was a new team with Brian Callahan, a new head coach, and we thought that they would show some improvement, and just hasn't happened. In fact, the Titans look like one of the worst teams in the NFL, but we'll try to find out what's going on with the Tennessee Titans, of course, coming up at 10:15 with Kayla Anderson. And also, Kalen DeBoer, Alabama head football coach. No press conference this week. Alabama on bye, and no press conference yesterday. But Coach DeBoer did speak at the Monday Morning Quarterback Club over in Birmingham. And before his session, he had a little media impromptu press conference. Well, I say that they do. The head coaches always speak, Saban and now DeBoer, to the media, but it's not, at a podium the way it is when it's here. He just reporters gather around him. But we've got about 9 minutes worth of audio from Coach DeBoer on the bye week from yesterday. So we're looking forward to playing that. Brand new audio for you from head coach Kalen DeBoer over in Birmingham yesterday. So we've got that as well. Good morning, Chase. How's it going? How are you feeling this morning, buddy?
I'm feeling pretty good. I watched a little bit of the basketball game yesterday. It was a foul fest. I may say that. So pretty crazy. But how are you today,
Yeah,
Gary?
I'm glad since you brought it up, let's just go ahead and start right there. 96-88 was the final, Alabama over Memphis. And, I guess it's disappointing in some ways because the Tide was up 49-29 at the half. And they let Memphis score 59 points in the second half. Still won the ball game. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I had it on my ESPN Plus account at work at the TV station last night. So I wasn't able to fully watch it because I was doing other things. But, You're right. I understand fouls have to be called, but I don't know, Chase. When you have as many free throws that were shot as we had last night, it takes away from the game. It takes away from the experience. It takes away from the entertainment value. And I know that fouls have to be called, but there seems to me that there ought to be some way, I don't know, to look at a game and try to call less fouls. It's not fun to watch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel that, to be honest.
But officials are, I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like that regardless of the sport, it's just like they feel the need to interject themselves into the outcome of these games. And I'm not saying live and let live in the sense that you got to let everything go. But I do think there needs to be, and, it's not going to happen now. We're already in the season. I would like to see the head of these officials in these conferences and nationally just say, hey, listen, we're going to call less, not more. We're going to call less, not more. And, we're going to let some things go as far as, contact, unless it's just blatant. We're going to, same thing in football. There just needs to be, to me, less penalties called, not more. And, but that's a big part of how these games come out now has a lot to do with officiating. It just does in all of the sports. All right, so Bama basketball gets that win. They're going to open the season next Monday night, this coming Monday night, against UNC Asheville at Coleman Coliseum. Of course, Alabama looking for a return trip to the Final Four and even more, looking for a national championship. And that's what the expectation is, to be quite honest with you. Other news and notes, the Yankees are in trouble. There's no other way around it. No team in World Series history has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit, and that's what New York is facing after losing to the Dodgers in Game 3 last night in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium, 4-2. It was 4-0 going into the bottom of the ninth, and the Yankees did get a 2-run homer to at least get on the board. But Aaron Judge right now, 1 of 12 with 7 strikeouts in the World Series. That's a .083 batting average. He's 6 for 43 with 20 strikeouts in the postseason. It's just amazing. It really is, for a guy who is one of the dominant hitters in baseball during the regular season and probably the AL MVP, to go into a funk like this in the postseason. But that's postseason baseball. I've been saying, for many, many years, if you've been listening to me on the show, that over 162 games in the regular season, it's just different. You can go through a slump, or teams can go through slumps, but in the postseason, everything is ratcheted up. I mean, it's a short window, and if you don't perform as a team, you get eliminated, and if you don't perform as a player, you get tagged as a postseason bust, and that is what Aaron Judge is dealing with right now. Some sad news to tell you about. It happened, confirmed yesterday, that former Alabama running back Lenny Patrick, one of the greatest high school football players in the history of the state of Alabama, when he was at Walker County High School in Jasper back in the late 70s, and then went to the University of Alabama and flashed his potential. Never quite lived up to the hype, but flashed his potential at times. Actually, I thought was it was the number one reason Alabama won that 1981 Iron Bowl, 28-17 over Auburn, when Coach Bryant won his 315th, then record 315th game. Lenny was phenomenal in that game, almost untackleable down the stretch, and then went on to the USFL and played with the Michigan Panthers. He passed away at the age of 63. Again, just a great, a legendary high school football player in this state. And as I said, was really a dynamic running back who did not quite live up to the potential and hype at the University of Alabama, but was good enough, as I said, to play in the USFL. And so disappointing to have to report that news. But Lenny Patrick passing away at the age of 63 on Monday. All right, we're off and running here on the Gary Harris Show. It's 9:13, and I see we got a phone call. Bill, you hold tight. We're going to get to you on the other side. If you'd like to call in on the program and become a part of the show, 205-342-9904. It's 205-342-9904. Feel free to give us a call. This is the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTVC. Your home for Alabama sports. We'll be right back with phone calls after this.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Tuesday morning, a statewide bicycle and pedestrian plan workshop was conducted at Aldot's West Central Region office in Tuscaloosa last night. Aldot's Allison Green tells us integrating the plan into the overall transportation system is critical as more people walk and bicycle for health. 4 more workshops are scheduled across the state before the plan is developed. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Telsquare Media, Tuscaloosa.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special.
Queso, sweet vinaigrette dressing, and spicy Cajun sauce. And check out our breakfast catering menu. Blue's Q and Brew is open 7 days a week. We're located at 1825 McFarland Boulevard North in the Northridge Center.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside.
These changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly sunny today with a warm afternoon, the high around 80. Fair tonight, the low 61. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, the high 81. Very warm on Thursday, partially sunny. The chance of a shower Thursday night, the high at 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 64 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to The Gary Harris Show.
Goal line in, touchdown, Alabama!
On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
(9:17). Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Monday Night Football. Last night, the Steelers over the Giants, 26-18. The Steelers 6-2 and are now in first place in the AFC North, ahead of the Ravens at 5-3. Bengals 3-5. Cleveland 2-6. Of course, Baltimore losing on Sunday, a disappointing loss. Really a bad loss at Cleveland. So the Steelers take over the division lead. All right, we're going to take some phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, and Bill is going to lead us off this morning. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Gary. How you doing?
Doing well.
Can you hear me? Hold on.
Yeah, I got you, BT. What's going on, brother?
How you doing, Gary?
Doing great. How are you doing, Bill?
That's right.
All right.
Okay, now try.
Yeah, I got you. Tell me what's on your mind.
I was going to see, let's talk about Oscar for the week. I mean, what's Alabama doing in it, Gary?
Well, we've got an interesting week because it's the final week of the regular season, and region play is wrapped up. So this is all these games count, obviously, but all our region standings are already set. So this is a week of games before the playoffs. So there'll be some teams that have some big games, but most of these teams are going to be in the mindset of trying to get themselves ready to play next week in the first round of the playoffs, so unless you're not in the playoffs. And then this is your final game of the season. So it's a little bit of a different type of week when you're wrapping it up like this. But I'm looking forward to it, and we'll have it all covered on Friday night. But the week after this, though, we get the playoffs kicked off. So it's amazing how quickly the season has flown by.
Okay, Bibb County will be playing it there or at home.
Well, I'm not looking at the schedule right now, Bill. So you tell me if you got the schedule. I'm not even looking at it right now. But
okay. What position they finished second?
Who, Bibb?
Okay.
Yeah, I think Bibb County finished second in their region. Like I said, I don't have the high school stuff in front of me right now, but but I'll be ready to go by Friday night. I promise you that.
Okay. Alabama looking good on basketball. Looking good right now.
Yeah, they are. Like I said, I'm a little disappointed in how they, the second half went last night. They had a 20-point lead at half and wound up winning by 8, but still got some guys sitting out. So I think next Monday night when they open the regular season, you're going to see everybody back in the lineup other than Youngblood, who's going to be out for a while. But I think they'll be good to go and have a chance to have a really special team. All right, I found the high school schedule for this week. I was looking for it while we were talking, and we got our game of the week on WVUA 23 is going to be Bayside Academy at Tuscaloosa Academy. Two really, really good teams before the playoffs, and not as many games this week because a lot of teams are on bye as well because of you play 11 weeks for 10 games, and a lot of teams that think they're going to go to the playoffs play 10 straight weeks and take their bye. So not too many games this week, but one of the teams that you follow, American Christian Academy, has a big game against Northside, and that'll be one that we'll be keeping an eye on as well.
And Kerry, what's his name? Played guard. He's still with them. I forget
who's that now.
He played last year. He started for Alabama.
Mark Sears?
Huh?
Mark Sears?
I can't remember his name, but
Mark Sears and Latrell Reitzel are both back for Alabama. So yeah, they're two really, really good players. And, Mark Sears came back and Reitzel came back, and like we've talked about, this roster is just it's stacked, BT. So we're looking forward to a great season. Hey, good to hear from you, Bill. Appreciate the phone call, buddy.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Bill. 205-342-9904 is the number on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. And as Bill was talking about, this is the final week of the high school regular season, week 11. But again, they used to play, week 1 was the first week. Now they have week 0 and then weeks 1 through 10. So they have 11 weeks and everybody plays 10 games, which means everyone takes a bye. And some teams don't play week 0 and then play 10 straight weeks that way. Some teams play week 0 or play week 0 and then play 10 straight weeks and take off the final week, week 10, and then some teams take a bye somewhere else during the season. But this is a popular bye week for high school football going into the playoffs because a lot of the teams that feel like they are going to go to the playoffs play week 0 and then play, weeks 1 through 9 and then take week 10 off. So you don't have, nearly as many games this week. And then the first week of the high school state playoffs is next week. So a little bit different vibe, but we do have, in addition to Bayside Academy, Tuscaloosa Academy, I mentioned TA hosting Northside in a big game. You've got Tuscaloosa County looking for its first win of the season at Paul Bryant to finish out the season there. Greensboro at Aliceville is a nice game. We've got Demopolis, of course, having a fantastic season under Lance Tucker, former Alabama quarterback, their head coach, host Wetumpka. So there's some interesting games, but not nearly as many as we normally have. And for some teams that played 10 games already and didn't make the playoffs, their season actually ended last week. We've got some teams whose season is already over. And I've been saying this for a while, and the AHSAA likes the way that they do it. But I wish the season were a little bit longer. I wish that it didn't start until September and then reached on into November before they got to the playoffs. Basically you wrap it up, well, this year, November the 1st, but you wrap up the season for some teams, they don't really even get to play any football when the weather's cool. And once again, this season, it's basically been, a T-shirt and short pants type of season. I mean, we just don't seem to get any cold weather anymore for football season. Now we may get some in the playoffs, but for the regular season, it's been warm all season long. Now I know that's good for, I'm not saying I want it to be freezing cold. I'm just saying it would be nice to go to some high school football games and feel like, well, I got to wear a jacket, got to wear a pullover and maybe have hot chocolate instead of cold soft drink. But that's not the case. It's been warm the entire season and expected to be pretty pleasant again on this Friday night. All right, getting back to Alabama basketball, to somebody shot me a little message and just said, do I think this team will get off to a fast start this season? Yeah, I do. I really do. I think that they will. I think that they've had a good session of practices, and they have a strong roster, like I said, and I think they're going to get off to a fast start next Monday night against UNC Asheville, and I think they're going to hit the ground running. I don't mean they're going to win all their games, but I really do think this team is positioned to live up to the hype early and establish themselves, because if you don't play well early, and let's say you lose a couple of games, then obviously your ranking as number 1 or number 2 team in the country is going to take a hit. So I wouldn't say there's pressure, but I would say there's expectation to live up to that ranking. And I think that this team can do it, and I think that they will. So we'll find out starting next Monday night. They played 2 charity exhibition games against Wake Forest and against Memphis, won them both. And now next Monday night, it counts for real. All right, we've got Drew DeArmond coming up in the next segment on the Gary Harris Show. Here's what I've been looking for. I want to read a couple of messages from the app. I want to get this one from Justin, who tries to get in on the trivia last week, but this was actually from Friday. He said he missed the trivia. Still love your show, Gary. I listen to you guys every day. I actually listen to Tide Radio from 6 in the morning until I get off at work at 5 o'clock every day. Roll Tide from Justin in Tuscaloosa. Justin, we appreciate that, man, and I know you do listen. And a guy that always is big on.
For Fridays at the Free at Innisfree Irish Pub, 1925 University Boulevard, downtown. Come join Wyatt Fulton for lunch at Innisfree Irish Pub.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time.
I'm Tom Osmond, your jeweler at Fincher and Osmond Jewelers. Not so easy to find on McFarland, between Edgar's and Local Roots.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgage.
Is award-winning.
The Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is back with a bite. Try it with the original or spicy filet, now for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Labor, ABA, and the station. The Alabama Department of Labor is an equal opportunity employer program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Dial 711 for TTY accessibility.
Did you miss any episode on Tide 100.9? Don't worry. All of our shows can be found on Spotify and Apple Music and on demand on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:31. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and it's time for the Rocket Man, Drew DeArmond, 977 ESPN Radio in Huntsville. He joins us on Tuesdays for a weekly segment. Of course, he hosts Talking Ball there at 977 ESPN, and that's exactly what we do. Hey, Drew, you ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
Good deal. Well, let's start with basketball, since the Crimson Tide came to your neck of the woods last night there to play Memphis in a charity exhibition game at the Von Braun Center, and 49-29 at half. And you thought, well, this is going to be a blowout, but it kind of turned into a foul fest. And give Memphis credit, they hung 59 on Bama in the second half. Alabama still wins 96-88. Other than all the fouls that were called in the game and all of the free throws that really hurt the rhythm of the basketball game, what were your takeaways?
Well, I mean, I really liked some of the guys that I hadn't seen in an Alabama uniform. I hadn't seen this team practice, so it was my first time to get to see them in an extended period. Now, I think everyone understands, I had a chance to see LeBaron Fallon for 3 days his junior year when he was probably one of the 3 or 4 best players that we've ever had in the Huntsville City Classic. His Baker Hornets lost to Sparkman in the championship game, but he was really the MVP of that tournament. He was outstanding, he averaged, I think, around 32 before going to Link Academy the next year, and playing his senior season, and then ultimately ending up in Tuscaloosa. He had 2 really good exhibition games. Last night he had 17 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. He was all over the court. He had 3 turnovers, so he needs to take care of the basketball a little better. But very, very explosive guy. I mean, I know this sounds funny. He was ranked a 30 to 40, top 40 kid. I think he's better than that. Certainly, I think he's smooth as silk. Alabama very fortunate to get him away from the Kansas Jayhawks, who may have one of the best rosters in the country themselves. But certainly, I don't know if LeBaron's going to start. Probably not, especially early. But he's certainly going to make his presence felt. I was really impressed with him. And then I was really impressed with Houston Millett, a guy that, kind of got lost in the shuffle because he was hurt when he got here, but a very well-spoken kid who was one of the better players in the West Coast Conference and averaged about 15 or 16 for Lorenzo Romar. And just like you could see it from Latrell Reitzel, this guy is a knockdown shooter, Gary. He's very efficient. Mm-hmm. He hit 3 threes last night. He hit 3 threes against Wake Forest. He had 11 points, and I don't know how many minutes he'll get, but he's going to be a sniper, and he'll be very, very valuable. Plus, he's an old head, and I think having older guys helps, especially to bring on the LeBaron Fallons of the world. And then Darion Reed, you can tell he's a little rusty still from coming back from the injuries, but he's just a junkyard dog. He does everything well, and he's a guy that's not afraid to get his nose in the fray. He's not afraid to get dirty. He would have fouled out in this game very likely, but again, it was a little bit different. Once it was obvious that they were not going to let people foul out, you could play the game more aggressively, a little bit differently. It kind of lost the rhythm in the second half. And Nate Oates wasn't happy with the mindset coming out of the locker room. I think he felt like some of the players thought the game was over. And then certainly Penny Hardaway and those Memphis Tigers, they're a proud team. They played North Carolina and Alabama, so they played 2 really tough exhibitions. And I think they just felt like they needed to play harder and play better in that second half. And give Memphis credit, they made a game out of it. But Alabama ultimately gets the 96-88 win. 6 guys in double figures, and that's pretty amazing that they scored 98 and 96 and didn't have arguably 3 starters in Grant Nelson, certainly Latrell Reitzel and Chris Youngblood, and then, of course, their backup 5, Aiden Sherrill. So still a loaded roster, though.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And with that in mind, somebody messaged me during my show and asked a question. I'll ask you because I do think it's a good question. Basically, they said, they have no doubt this team is going to be really good, but with the new parts and some guys sitting out the exhibition games, do you think this team will get off to a fast start? Of course, they tip it off for real Monday night against UNC Asheville at Coleman Coliseum. Do you think this team is going to get off to a fast start, Drew, or do you think there'll be a few growing pains early on?
Well, I mean, there's probably going to be some growing pains because you got to get the chemistry right. You've had some guys that you just mentioned, the Grant Nelsons, the Aiden Sherrills, Latrell, Youngblood, who are not on the floor. So you have to iron out your rotation. And one guy that, that I didn't have him heavily involved just simply because there's so much talent on this roster. But I felt like he helped them win both games because he just makes winning plays as Mo Diabate. I mean, he's always around the ball. He's a really good defender, whether it's in the passing lanes or even on the interior. He looks like he's put a lot of time in the gym, Gary, with his shot as far as free throws go and ability to make threes. He's just a winner. And so you've got to find out where he fits. No question about that. You have to see how many minutes you can get each of these guards. There's no question in my mind that they have the ability to wear people down. And even as the season goes on, I know Sears played 30-plus minutes in both these exhibition games. But as the year goes on, hopefully you can keep Sears fresh and healthy for the postseason run because he doesn't have to play 30 minutes a game. And so hopefully that's what this depth will allow is for Alabama to wear people down. Nate Oates also mentioned a guy like Cliff Amore who had 10 points last night, some blocks, and was a factor around the rim. He's still getting used to playing with the pace that these guys do. So certainly I think this team will be much different by January than they are going to be early. But regardless, they're going to have a chance to win every game they play because they're so talented.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. You mentioned some guys coming back and already a loaded roster, even with these guys sitting out. There is only one basketball. Is there any concern? I mean, of course, that's up to the coaches to handle that. But, once we get into the regular season, some guys are going to play more minutes than others, clearly. But this is a talented roster all the way through. Drew, do you worry at all about, as the season goes on, guys that aren't getting any minutes as some others, sulking? Is that any chance of that? Or did you get a vibe last night watching this team that everybody's bought in and on the same page? Just your thoughts on that.
I love the bench energy and the body language. I thought everybody was locked into me, and I'll take that problem having too much talent than not having enough. Just trust me. I've seen some Alabama basketball teams in the last 20 years that weren't very good and weren't fun to watch. This one's going to be fun to watch. They're coming off of a Final Four trip. You want to have expectations. I love the fact Alabama has a head coach that doesn't shy away from them. He wants to win. He thinks they can get back to the Final Four. And like you said, you don't just want to make the Final Four. You want to kick the door in and win it all. And this roster's talented enough to do that. You got to have some luck. You got to get the bounces. You got to stay healthy. But this team, I don't think, has a discernible weakness. And now they got to get better on the defensive end of the floor. Certainly, they've got to gel. That's what kept them from winning the national championship last year. Ultimately, was rim protection and team defense as a whole. That was where Nate was kind of frustrated last night. But again, Brian Adams is here, and I think this team, as they play together on the court and become more cohesive, that's definitely going to improve. And I know this sounds funny. They made 12 threes last night, but they didn't shoot at a high clip. This is a team that's capable of making, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 threes in a game. They certainly did that against Wake Forest. They didn't last night, but they're capable of doing it. And defensively, they held, Memphis to 1 of 14 from three. And they're talented. Tyrese Hunter, really good guard from Kentucky. I know I did it. A really good guard from Texas. And Dane Danger, I think he came over from Illinois. They've got some really good players, no doubt about it. And they pretty much Penny's built his team on transfers. But it was also good to see Mike Davis as everybody knows, means a lot to the people of the state of Alabama. I think he's going to do a nice job as the right-hand man for Penny Hardaway.
Talking Bama basketball with Drew DeArmond, of course, losing Youngblood for a while is disappointing because we look forward to seeing his toughness and, physical player and guy that can be a good defender. But I want to talk about you've already got Sears and Reitzel, and then you bring in two guards, the caliber of Philon and Holloway. What a guard rotation this team is going to have.
Well, and don't forget Houston Millett. I know he may not have a regular spot in the rotation, but barring foul trouble or someone, not being locked in, I can't tell you how intelligent this guy is. I was very impressed with his mannerisms, and he's an older guy, a senior, that he chose this style of play. I mean, and it'll allow Nate Oates to play 3 guards at a time. And if you go with a small lineup, you could really hurt another team from a standpoint of being able to break them down, getting to the 10, or, of course, from the three-point line. I mean, Aiden Holloway didn't shoot it like he did in Game 1 against Wake Forest, but he still had 7 last night. And I thought the 3 he made was a big one to kind of quell a Memphis run. He's definitely a talented player. He's another guy that's got to take care of the ball a little bit better, but that'll come with more time on the floor with your team. But certainly, Gary, there's no doubt about it. When you think about that guard and that back court, that it's one of the deepest back courts in all of college basketball, no question, especially if you consider Youngblood a guard as well. I think he's more of a wing. We haven't really seen him. But don't forget for the late Amir Abdur-Rahim, and rest in peace for him,
yes,
and prayers to his family. But he was the co-player of the year in the AAC, so he's a really good player that we haven't seen yet.
Visiting with Drew DeArmond. One final thought on basketball. You mentioned Cliff Amore kind of adjusting to the pace and the way that this team plays versus what he, played at Rutgers. But, man, the physical presence is undeniable. I mean, you look at that. I was watching it on my computer some last night and just looking at that physicality and the huge hands and he just adds so much from I hate to use this term in basketball, but you know what I'm talking about. He's almost kind of an intimidator and just a physical presence that will do a lot of work inside to kind of free things up for these other guys.
Yeah, no question. I mean, he definitely is the rim presence you're looking for. He's 6'9", 6'10", but he's got a 7'6" wingspan. He can run the floor like a deer. He's a much more efficient finisher around the rim than Nick Pringle was, though Nick had a nice run at Alabama, got better hands. And again, he has a knack. A lot of times, shot blocking is something it's very instinctive. You either can do it or cannot. He does a very good job of helping on the weak side as well, but then also just using his length to take people away. I think as a team they've got to rebound better, but I think that's going to come. And I just like how comfortable Cliff looked like he was. Got to work on those free throws a little bit, but that'll come. But I think overall, I think he's going to be a really good fit, and I can't wait to see how good he is as he gets used to playing with these guys and they hit that SEC stretch in late December on into the new year.
Drew, let's get to some football. And we talked last week, and we knew that if Alabama played well against Mizzou on Saturday for homecoming, there'd be a lot better mindset surrounding the football program, and that's the case. Alabama 34, Missouri nothing, and you go into the bye week now with a lot of momentum and understanding exactly what's ahead of you. It's a 4-game schedule. And if you win those 4 games against LSU and against Mercer and against Oklahoma and Auburn, I think Alabama's going to be in the playoff at 10-2. So you get to the bye, had a really solid performance against the Tigers. So let's start there. What did you see in the Missouri game? And obviously 34-0, but what were your takeaways in regards to that game and what it will do for this team going forward?
Well, I mean, it should give them some much-needed confidence, especially running the football for 270-plus yards and using 3 different guys. I mean, Justice Haynes with that physical 35-yard touchdown run, Jam Miller with a couple of touchdowns, also Jalen Milroe getting into it. I mean, certainly the offensive line played better, and I think it has to give them some confidence to put a hat on a hat and get some movement, no question about it. And then Jalen Milroe wasn't great. He's got to be more efficient. Those short intermediate throws to Ryan Williams when he's wide open, you have to hit those to beat an LSU in Baton Rouge. You also need to hit a deep ball or two. I felt like he had Kobe Prentice and missed him. All that said, he was solid. The biggest key was the offense didn't turn the ball over, Gary. If they don't turn the ball over, they're going to be tough. And the defense forced 3 turnovers. That was one of the big bugaboos and keys why they lost to Vanderbilt. They didn't force Vanderbilt into some mistakes or turnovers. That's what they've got to do. But I think they've gained some confidence. They got to continue to keep getting Milroe in a rhythm and get him to use his legs. When he uses his legs, I think it gets him going. And then overall, I mean, defensively to get a shutout was big. And I think that's where we've seen the most growth because, again, I thought they played good enough to win against Tennessee. The last 2 weeks, we're starting to see the kind of Alabama defense we've been accustomed to for the past 17 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get a shutout in the Southeastern Conference, obviously, with Noel out at running back and Brady Cook limited before leaving the game at quarterback. That impacted Missouri, but not Alabama's fault. You can only play who you play. In regards to that defense, and I'm not a guy that's going to try, me, I'm not going to try to break down X's and O's and talk scheme with you. Don't know enough about what they're doing, but I do notice some changes. I've seen a lot more even front. I've seen 3 linebackers in the game with 4 defensive linemen, which basically is not a 4-2-5. It's a 4-3-4 standard defense. It seems like they schematically tweaked some things to me. Drew, have you noticed that? And speaking of the defensive linemen, there's, I thought it was one of the defensive linemen's best game, and they're playing a lot of those guys. They're playing a lot of defensive linemen. It seems like to me defensively they've changed some things, and they're getting better production up front on defense.
Well, I think they blitzed a little bit more. I saw Mbakwe coming off the edge early, and playing a lot of those young guys in the secondary the first few games, I think has paid off. I thought the biggest story for the defense on Saturday was Bray Hubbard. It was his first start and his first week of practice to prepare, and he ends up with second on the team in tackles to Jihad Campbell. Jihad had 8 tackles and a sack, and Bray had 7 tackles and an interception. That was outstanding. And Malachi Moore, since he got called out in the Vandy game, I think he's really responded. He had another interception, and then the 2 teammates from Carver Montgomery, James Smith and Clay Russaw, they combined. James Smith's pressure moved the quarterback off his spot, led to an interception from his buddy Clay Russaw. So it was good to watch them create 3 turnovers. I like the emotion from Kane Womack. He saw his team get that shutout and get that stop from Carroll on the 4th down play. So I just think they're getting more comfortable. So many people get frustrated early, but you got to understand this is a completely different system, and they've been really banged up in the secondary. So to get guys like Mbakwe more reps is big. Deshaun Jones even had to play some Husky because Devontae Smith was on a pitch count. He was banged up. Red Morgan was banged up. So you've got to continue to get guys in there and play them and develop them, and I think Alabama will be better for it down the road. I thought L.T. Overton was really good again. And then I thought on the flip side, if you want to say the ugly, never in my life have I seen a delay of game where a whistle is not blown and then you call a young man who didn't know the whistle was blown a personal foul. I mean, I just think the SEC officiating has got to start matching the level of play. It has got to get better because, look, I mean, I know it's a hard job, Gary. I understand that. You're trying to, officiate great athletes and great coaching. It's a high level of football, but we need desperately for the SEC officiating to match the play on the field.
Well stated, Drew, for sure. I agree with you. I said that I think this team gets to the playoff. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen yet, but I just can't imagine a 10-2 Alabama team not being in the playoffs. So I'll make this a twofold question. First of all, do you think Alabama runs the table? Do you think they get it done and get to 10-2? And if you do, of course, if they're 9-3, it doesn't matter. They're not going. But if they do get to 10-2, do you believe they'll get in the playoff?
Well, I think they would have a strong case. I don't think it's a lock by any stretch because there's a lot of teams they got to jump over. Now, a lot of those teams are playing each other, Gary, so they'll knock each other out. But I just think, for one thing, it will be a moot point, if they don't win in Red Stick.
That's right.
They need to go back and play. And they lost a heartbreaker 2 years ago. They need to go back under Kalen DeBoer and replant that flag that says property taxes in Baton Rouge. They just need to do that because for many, many years they dominated LSU in Baton Rouge. They had that long winning streak dating all the way back to 1969. And now they're 6-2 in their last 8 there, but they did lose on the last play of the game, basically the 2-point conversion 2 years ago, a game in which Bryce Young wasn't healthy but gutted it out, and Alabama nearly won the game. So it should be another great game. But, I'll just say, this is one thing this is the most important game of the season because it's the next one, but I think it'd be the biggest win of the Kalen DeBoer era, and here's why. I know Georgia was huge, and Georgia could end up being the best team in the country, but the reason that I say that this win in Red Stick would be even bigger for Kalen DeBoer is, one, how they've responded since their adversity, which would be losing to Tennessee, and, you know, the most important thing, and Nick Saban, he made his bones doing this, Gary. It would be the first SEC road win of the Kalen DeBoer era. And if you can win on the road in this league, you know what that means. It means you're going to be in championship contention for the Southeastern Conference title and ultimately get in the playoff and have a chance to win a national championship. So to me, I certainly it was a landmark win to beat Georgia and continue that winning streak, and they've won 5 of 6 over Kirby. But this would be even bigger because it would signal Alabama is still an SEC contender and certainly a college football playoff one, and it would give them the first win of the Kalen DeBoer era on the road, and I think that would be very significant with a Mercer, Oklahoma, and then at Auburn stretch to end the season that would give you a chance to ultimately reach the tournament, which was the goal from the start of the season.
Terrific stuff as always, Drew. We appreciate it, and let everybody know the different platforms that they can find you at.
Yeah, they can find me at Drew D977ESPN on X, certainly at 977ESPN on our station account. If you missed any of our show, Talking Ball, Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m., you can catch it on our SoundCloud page, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone, on our SoundCloud page, 977 The Zone, and then, of course, 977ESPN.com over on our website. Please come check us out, no doubt, and we always enjoy being a part of the Gary Harris Show on Tide 109 and being a part of the city of Tuscaloosa. It was great to be in Tuscaloosa this past Saturday for Missouri, and now next week for some basketball, and really excited to see this team develop and play against UNC Asheville, and hopefully Arkansas State. Hope to make both of those, but look forward to it, and always appreciate being on.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you.
All right, it's 9:53. We'll take a time out and come back and wrap up hour number 1 of the program right after this.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show.
Join the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care, for a Wednesday edition of the program. We'll continue to talk about Alabama, Mizzou. We'll talk about what Alabama needs to get accomplished during bye week. We welcome your calls at 205-342-9904. That's the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline. We'll also continue to break down the rest of the SEC in 2024. Those conversations and more right here on your home for Alabama Sports, Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m.
Catch the Martin Houston Show from 6 to 7 weekday mornings on Tide 100.9.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after.
Control of our future. Vote Republican. Paid for by the Tuscaloosa County Republican Party. P.O. Box 2643, Tuscaloosa, Alabama 35403.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour.
Better living at First and Main. Visit firstandmaincondos.com or call 205-657-7465. Mention you heard about us on the radio and receive 1 month free rent.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly sunny today with a warm afternoon, the high around 80. Fair tonight, the low 61. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, the high 81. Very warm on Thursday, partially sunny. The chance of a shower Thursday night, the high at 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 64 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Before we wrap up hour number 1, let me remind you the YMCA of Tuscaloosa is ready for you when you're ready for the Y. I was in there yesterday working out. Just love the place, love the people. love the instructors, love the trainers. Everything about the YMCA is a positive where I'm concerned, and I think it will be for you as well. I think it'll add quality to your life. Get by and see Jeff Knox, the CEO, and the good folks there at the YMCA of Tuscaloosa. They'll give you a little tour and get you signed up. Become a member like I am, and I think you'll enjoy it. I've been a member for over 20 years, so you know I love it. The YMCA of Tuscaloosa. Hour number 2 is coming up. We've got the Titans report with Kayla Anderson at 10:15. More of your phone calls, and also we'll hear Kalen DeBoer's audio from yesterday at the Monday Morning Quarterback Club over in Birmingham. Hour number 2, the Gary Harris.
Takes it over the top. It's award-winning.
The Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is back with a bite. Try it with the original or spicy filet, now for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Monty Bolaños.
The Dodgers will try to complete a sweep of the Yankees in Game 4 of the World Series later today, which starts at 8 Eastern from New York. They won Game 3 yesterday 4-2, where Freddie Freeman once again hit a 2-run homer in the first inning, his third home run of the series. No team in World Series history has rallied from down 3-0.
We're trying to get a game tomorrow, okay? That's where our focus lies. So hopefully we can, go be this amazing story and shock the world. But right now it's about trying to get a lead, trying to grab a game and force another one, and then on from there. But we got to grab one first.
That was Yankees manager Aaron Boone. In the NFL, Pittsburgh has improved to 6-2 after the Steelers beat the Giants 26-18 on Monday Night Football. In the NBA, the Suns beat the Lakers 109-105. LeBron James ended with just 11 points. Kevin Durant ended with 30.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. Remember, download the Tide 109 app, or you can also listen at Tide109.com. And coming up in this hour, the Tennessee Titans report with Kayla Anderson from 94.5 The Zone at 10:15 out of Nashville, as we'll break down everything Tennessee Titans. Also, we'll have that Kalen DeBoer audio from yesterday over at the Monday Morning Quarterback Club in Birmingham. More of your phone calls as well. So a big hour on tap. But we're going to talk for a few minutes with my friend Carson Palmer from Pinnacle Park at North River, that beautiful gated townhome community near gorgeous Lake Tuscaloosa. They present our hotline here on the show, and Carson is with us this morning. Good morning, Carson. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, Gary. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Pinnacle Park at North River, I talk about it a lot. You can find out more at pinnacleparknr.com. But really, you have to see this luxurious gated community to really appreciate it. And I know that you'd love to give people a tour and just tell them what all you got going on at Pinnacle Park at North River.
Yeah, so it really is a special space. It's 3-bed, 3.5 bath. Phase 1 is vinyl downstairs, vinyl upstairs, and Phase 2 is true hardwood downstairs and carpet upstairs. Now, it ranges from $2,800 to $4,200 a month. $2,800 will give you a base unit. $2,900 will give you a base unit with a balcony upstairs. And $4,200 will get you a fully furnished unit with a balcony and all utilities included. Right now, we have about one unit that comes up once a month. And, we'd love to have anybody that's interested in living there.
The uniqueness, because I want to make sure people understand what we're talking about. We're talking about luxury living. We're talking about gated. We're talking about townhomes, all uniquely designed, as you kind of alluded to. We're talking about location. We're talking about amenities. We're talking about not just, just getting by here. We're talking about high quality living space.
Yes, it's not your regular rental. I mean, your neighbors are teachers, coaches, people retiring, people building a house and just looking for a place to stay. And it's extremely private and extremely secure. I mean, the only thing you're going to hear is someone cranking their car in the morning.
And of course, the grounds just beautiful. for getting out, walking, the pool, all of those things that come with it.
Yes, the amenities are great. You've got the pool and pool pavilion. The HOA covers all the landscaping, so you don't have to worry about anything. We cover maintenance, landscaping, all things of that nature.
All right, Carson, if people want to take a tour, like you said, it's not like these things are opening up all the time, but there is availability from time to time. What do they need to do? Phone number. I mentioned the website, different ways that they can get in touch with you if they're interested.
Yes, if you're interested in getting a tour, reach out to us at 205-657-7465, and we'll schedule a tour.
Pinnacle Park at North River, luxury living near beautiful Lake Tuscaloosa. Thank you, Carson.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, Carson Palmer from Pinnacle Park at North River here on the Gary Harris Show. All right, we're open for phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline. How about that for a segue? 205-342-9904. But in the meantime, let's talk a little bit more about Alabama football. And as I said, later on in the show, we're going to hear from Kalen DeBoer when we get to his audio yesterday from over in Birmingham, even though there was no press conference. But, schedules are schedules. You have to play them the way that they are. But I really think, and it's disappointing that Alabama's lost 2 games. There's no way around that. Disappointing they lost to Vanderbilt in Nashville. It's disappointing they lost to Tennessee in Knoxville. It just is. But they're 6-2. But I do think this schedule laid out really, really well. And, 4-4-4, if you want to look at it in thirds. But they played 4 games, and they had a bye. And that bye came before the Georgia game. And we know how spectacular they were in the first half against Georgia. Played 3 games. I'm sorry. 3 games and got the bye. And then played Georgia off the bye and got to 4-0. But that bye really helped Alabama. They used it. They put in some things that Georgia had not seen. And it was a terrific performance. So you get to 4-0. Yep. You lose the next week against Vanderbilt, beat South Carolina, lose to Tennessee, beat Missouri. But now this bye comes at a perfect time. You got 4 games left, starting with LSU. Now, LSU's got a bye too, but we're focused on Alabama. Couldn't come at a better time to kind of reset, recalibrate, and make sure you are prepared and ready to go when you roll into Red Stick a week from Saturday night. So I love the way the schedule is set up. I love this second bye. I love it, for Alabama football. I love it for me. I mean, it's nice to get a break here this weekend. To be honest with you, I think a lot of fans feel the same way. These seasons are they're a grind, even for fans. And so I think the fans are looking forward to having football, but not having an Alabama game. To just kind of get a break if people want to play golf, or they want to get a weekend away, or whatever it may be. They've got that opportunity. And for Alabama football-wise, it is what it is. I still believe, and I think Drew Yarman, said it right. I mean, you can't just count on being in the playoff at 10-2. But I'm confident that if Alabama, just like I said last year, I said on the show, and I remember Barry Sanders and I going back and forth about this, because Florida State was undefeated. And he said, there's no way Alabama's going in over undefeated Florida State. And I said, well, I do believe that. I believe if Alabama, they were 11-1 at the time. I said, if they beat Georgia and win the SEC championship, there's no way you're keeping a 12-1 SEC champion Alabama out of the college football playoff. You're just not going to do it. And that scenario played out, and Alabama got in. So I just think if Alabama's 10-2, regardless of what has to happen, I think it's going to happen. I just think a 10-2 Alabama with wins over Georgia, which is the best win in the country. Let's be clear. The best win in the country so far is Alabama over Georgia. But if Alabama has wins over Georgia and LSU, and a nice non-conference win over Wisconsin, I think they're getting in. But that doesn't really matter if you don't win the next 4 games. So that's the beauty of it, too, is Alabama doesn't have to think about scenarios. They just got to try to find a win every Saturday that they play. 1-game season. That's what it is. You break it down. You can look at all the different scenarios and brackets, but Alabama has to take care of Alabama. And to do that, they got to win a week for Saturday night. And then they got to beat Mercer, and they got to beat Oklahoma, and they got to beat Auburn. They've got to take care of what they can take care of. Period. But I believe if they do that, 10-2, they'll be sitting in the college football playoff. Now, next week, obviously, we're going to be full speed into Alabama and LSU. But this week, we'll continue to talk about it. But it is, like I said, it's kind of like before the Georgia game. It's kind of the calm before the storm. You know what's coming, but it's still a ways off. It's not this weekend. There's no immediacy around Alabama and LSU yet. That will change next week, like I said. And it'll change quickly because once Monday gets here, press conferences, and then we're rolling into that game full speed ahead. But for now, it's kind of nice just to be able to talk about the game, but not have to really zero in and dial in yet, knowing that they don't play this weekend. All right, it's 11 minutes after the hour of 10 o'clock here on the Gary Harris Show. And I mentioned you might want to play golf this weekend. Well, you might because the weather is fantastic, and Tall Pines Golf Club is ready for you to play a round of golf right now. It's in great shape. It is scenic. It's a hidden gem in Tuscaloosa, and they're open for public play 6 days a week, Tuesday through Sunday. Call them to make a tee time, 205-556-1232. Driving range, putting greens, everything that you need. And also they offer memberships as well if you might be entertaining the idea of becoming a member. Tall Pines, a hidden gem in Tuscaloosa.
Made fresh when you order. So whatever the size of your appetite,
there's always something delicious waiting for you here at Taco Casa.
Taco Casa, under the biggest cactus in town.
The Alabama Securities Commission protects you from financial fraud. Anyone asking you for investment money must be licensed. You're careful with your money. Fraudsters aren't. Before you invest, call our hotline at 1-800-222-1253 to verify the licensing of the person making an offer and the product. Don't lose your...
In Northport, just before Carroll's Creek Baptist Church. Sponsored by Edmondson Deer Processing, Tuscaloosa Tractor, Irvin's, Paul's Feed and Seed, and Anders Hardware.
Want to jump into any of the shows? Call Tide 100.9 right now at 205-342-9904.
Will somebody answer that damn phone?
That's 205-342-9904.
All right, 10:15. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and it's time for Kayla Anderson and the Tennessee Titans Report. Kayla, an Emmy-winning sports anchor, now on Ramon, Kayla, and Will on 104.5 The Zone in Nashville, and she breaks down everything Tennessee Titans for us on Tuesdays. Hey, good morning, Kayla. How are you?
Hey, good. I hope you guys are doing well on this Tuesday. It's still warm here in Nashville, and we're almost in November, so there's a positive.
Yeah, it is in some ways, but I'm complaining a little bit because I can't remember a football season, high school football season. As you know, being on the TV beat, I'm still on the high school beat, and I can't remember a high school football season in recent memory where there was anything other than shorts and T-shirts needed during the regular season. We wrap up regular season on Friday night, and it's been another. Now, maybe once we get in the playoffs, we'll get a little cool weather. So it's great weather. Don't get me wrong. I'm with you. It's beautiful. But covering high school football on Friday night, occasionally you'd be like, it'd be nice to want to wear a jacket or need to wear a jacket, maybe drink some hot chocolate, but no need.
I agree with you on that. There is a feel for football weather that definitely has not come our way in the South yet. So I'm with you. If we can see fall come here at the start of November, that would be good. I'm just glad I don't have to be bundling up quite yet in November.
Yeah, that's sure. All right. Boy, I don't know where to start with the Tennessee Titans. I guess we'll just start with where they're at, and that's in a bad place. I mean, this season, we were excited about Brian Callahan and excited about the offense and excited about the chance to, compete in what is not a very strong division. And lost a couple of games to start the season that they could have won, and it just hasn't turned around. The Miami game was kind of an outlier with no Tua, and since then it's just been a disaster. A close loss to the Colts, blowout to Buffalo, and then at Detroit, just absolutely obliterated 52-14. And my gosh, now you're in contention for worst team in the National Football League debate. Kayla, what's happened? What's gone wrong?
Yeah, and I think that the question that was asked to Brian Callahan yesterday when he meets every Monday with the media is, do you feel like your team has regressed? I think from the outside point of view, whether you're looking at that from the media standpoint or the fan standpoint or just an innocent bystander in all of this, you would think that, yeah, they most certainly have regressed since even the start of the season, where you saw them in really close games. They were, losing games by just a few points. And the big conversation then was clearly, is Will Levis your guy? And that stayed the conversation for a while until he got hurt. And by that point, Mason Rudolph has come in, and although he provided you with a decent performance, not doing a lot in that Miami game, he still was majority of the time the quarterback in that game. But then you ran into a situation with the Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions back-to-back. And, Gary, I go back to that game coming out of the bye week for the Titans where we thought Will Levis was going to be healthy. And they played that game against the Indianapolis Colts. And I said, this is the time where you could at least start to build a little bit of confidence with this team. And if you don't, it could be a very rocky road ahead. And what did they do? They lost to the Colts at home, where they definitely could have found a way to win that game. And so that's kind of then what happened when you go into these two juggernauts is you got no confidence. And what happens when you have no confidence? You start making dumb mistakes again. You start getting in your own head. And that's really what they've done the past two games. Every game, it's something different in terms of mistakes that they're making. This time, it was the special teams that pretty much allowed the Buffalo Bills to have short field advantage 5 different times in which they scored. So, you can't then really put it all on the defense because you were giving them short field on special teams.
Right.
Where you saw the offense in the beginning play a somewhat decent, couple drives, and Calvin Ridley had his best game of the season. You saw that start to work. And then you just hit adversity and this team completely wilters like a flower. So I don't know exactly what can work for this team at this point, because when it's all said and done, I look at it as regressing if you continue to make mistakes that are hurting your team, and that's what they're doing.
When you look at the Lions game, and obviously Detroit's really good, as you said, offensively for the Titans, there were some positives. Rudolph threw for 266 yards. Ridley had a monster game after the Titans dealt Hopkins to the Chiefs for a draft pick. And you're right, even the defense, which we thought was going to be strong and has been strong for the most part, it wasn't all on them. And then you add in the fact that because the special teams, which you're not a good football team, you sure as heck can't be bad at special teams, and they were miserable on Sunday against Detroit.
Yeah, and that was a conversation coming out of that game. The special teams coach, who actually know very well, covered him at Montana, really cut his teeth and made a living in the league being a really good special teams player for both Buffalo and Philadelphia. He was with Brian Callahan in Cincinnati. He was an assistant special teams coach at the time. And we all know how this business happens. Sometimes you give opportunities to those that you see can maybe do something with that. And I I don't get upset with the fact that Callahan is giving Colt Anderson a chance to learn, because it is a very eclectic staff with some veterans coaches, but a lot of new coaches as well. And I think that was the whole thing, is like, fire Colt Anderson. That was the whole kind of thing that we got coming out of the game. That's what fans were saying. They were calling for Colt Anderson, media members here. And then he went at his press conference yesterday and pretty much said, like, I'm not doing that. And so there's, issues with, is this a coaching problem right now, or is this, Gary, a combination of both? And you're looking at some of the players that they kept on special teams at the end of training camp. They let go of a lot of their really solid special teams guys to keep other spots. And so maybe that's now kind of biting them in the butt too, when you let go of some of these solid key special teamers over the past couple of years to kind of go for more of the offensive guys that you're keeping in some of these third, fourth spots. So that's also an issue. So that's something that is going to continue to be, unfortunately, I think, a talking point until it gets fixed. I think people are going to say, we want change somewhere.
You look at the game coming up, and it's a winnable game. I know New England found a way to beat the Jets, but New England is not a great football team. Titans are back at home. Is this a game that Tennessee's going to go into with a little bit of confidence that they can get their second win?
I just said that today, actually, on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. I said, I am willing, while I thought the Colts game was a pivotal moment for this season, I am willing at this point, because they've already sold assets off, and I do feel like they're going to make more moves at the trade deadline. I do feel like, though, you're still going out there and you're trying to win games as players, and you're trying to in any way find an ability to build some confidence or have the ball bounce the way that it has it. It's bounced the opposite way all season. This is another game where I'll say they have an opportunity to try to rally a little with what they have left, because there's still really talented pieces here. It's just putting it together, or at least, going out and playing somewhat of mistake-free football for once this season and seeing how it would turn out. And you can do that against this New England Patriots team, which, by the way, has had just so many issues on the offensive line. Like, you think the offensive line for the Titans is a problem. That offensive line for New England is a joke. And I think the defensive line, if you're the Tennessee Titans and you're playing anywhere on that line, or if you're a pass rusher this week, like, you could have a field day if you're Tennessee. And I think there's issues with Drake May in terms of injuries. So Jacoby Brissett, coming in, there's opportunities here to win this game, Gary. And I do feel like if they do that and get the first home win of the season for their fans, maybe we start to build on something here and see what they can do down the stretch.
Interesting. I'm going to kind of throw something at you, and maybe you guys have talked about it on your show, because of what's happened at the quarterback position with the Titans. Malik Willis last year was just a mess for Tennessee when he came in the game. And I mean, based on what we saw, I didn't have a problem with the Titans moving on, but now you wonder, based on what we're seeing in Green Bay, granted he is a backup, but he's played enough to get for us to get a good look at him, and he's been great. I mean, he's been terrific. I mean, he's been awesome.
Yeah.
Throwing, running, and I guess my question is there any seller's remorse now with the Titans organization that they got rid of Malik Willis?
I mean, and it's a legit question, because even for the fans here, there are a lot of people who are on the side of, we're happy for Malik Willis. There was always a good, heavy fan presence here in terms of supporting him always throughout his journey here and giving him an opportunity. And look, he did grow as a player before he was traded here. And I will give credit to, Bo Hardegree, who is the quarterback's coach here, and Brian Callahan, to try to kind of help him grow a little bit, because at that point early on, they didn't know exactly what they were going to do with him, right? but when it was all said and done, they kind of already had their backup that they handpicked in Mason Rudolph, and obviously Levis was going to be the starter. So it was a kind of a win-win situation because you, in a way, you kind of helped get him a little bit of a boost at the opportunities that he was given during training camp and during those preseason games to kind of get out there and show who Malik is now. Not when he was drafted, but who he is now. And then you go up there, you get a 7th-round pick for him, which, whatever, it's a 7th-rounder, but it is still a pick, and that's been the emphasis here is you need to get as many picks as possible. But look, it's worked out for Malik Willis, and guess what? Give a lot of credit to him for taking advantage of his situation. But I do think, Gary, when it's all said and done, it's just such a better opportunity for him there in a better offense with a better offensive-minded coach, at least right now, who is proven he knows exactly what he wants to do and how he can scheme when Malik Willis does come in. So I don't think it would have necessarily worked here, but I definitely think it works up there just with what he kind of went into.
All right, Kayla, final question, and you cover an NFL team and have for a while. When you're in a situation like the Titans are in, and granted, you can't just quit playing. I mean, you've got a chance, like you said, to pick up a win on Sunday. And there's some other games that, maybe if the Titans play well, they could win. But this is not a playoff team. You know that. How does that work when you're trying to stay engaged, trying to give your fans their money's worth, trying to, be responsible as coaching staff with the players that you have to try to win every Sunday? But at the same time, you've got an eye toward the future for in regards to rebuilding. What's that like for an organization to be kind of stuck in, not in limbo, but knowing you're not a playoff caliber team, but still having a lot of games to play this season, but with an eye toward what you can do to get better in the future?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's not fun covering it. And in all seriousness, in my 8 years here, I've never covered this type of a situation. Where you coming out of the gate, it's just been bad. There's been opportunities where, they've kind of let it go during the middle of a season, but they've gotten back on track. Or, in the last year or so, it was more so bad down the stretch where they lost it, but never where you come out of the gates where there was a lot of optimism that was sold to the fans this year. And that's part of it too, Gary. There was still a lot of optimism sold by the organization by making some of these moves, and I was even convinced that it was going to be a more competitive team. Now, it didn't work out that way mostly because your quarterback hasn't progressed the way that you needed him to. But it is hard. It's a fine line now because you're in it now, and it is what it is. Like, you're just not going to be a really good team this year. And they've already kind of admitted it with the moves that they made last week and trading DeAndre Hopkins and trading Ernest Jones. And so you did now see a little bit of a look into the future because you do need to build up your draft picks and really start to build a foundation. But you're right. Everybody wants to go out and win games if you're a national football player. Like you want to. You don't want to go out there and lose. So it's a fine line of keeping people involved and keeping people, if you're a coach, keeping these players motivated to just, as coaches, it sounds, game by game, take it and just get as much as you can get out of these guys. I think the culture's still good in the locker room. I don't think there's necessarily finger pointing going on, but you got to, if you're a player, continue to go out there and give it your all in every single game. And it's Coach Brian Callahan's job still to have his priorities set on winning. And what happens, from here on out, we'll see. But it is a fine line because you've lost a lot of the interest of the fans at this point because they're just not a good team. But you start to have to, as a coach, just focus on, hey, we've got to just try to win each game in front of us. It's a hard thing to do, but unfortunately, you don't have a ton of control over it at this point. And by the way, Gary, I said that they probably will be making more moves just because, in a way, you are looking towards the future. So I do see probably at least one more move potentially coming at the trade deadline, especially if they lose this game to the Patriots.
Right. Well, you really stated that well. I think you're dead on. For the team, each Sunday is a chance to win. And to win a game in the National Football League and come into the locker room and have an opportunity to celebrate is special. So I'm with you. I think you can still pitch each Sunday. It's just a chance to win, regardless of what, has happened or is going to happen. So that's the way you have to focus on it. Great stuff as always, Kayla. And for the people that are listening that want to listen to your radio show and follow you on social media, how do they do it?
Yeah, always enjoy coming on with you guys at Kayla Anderson TV on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And then you can go and download our podcast, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, wherever you get your podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Gary.
All right, it is 10:32 here on the Gary Harris Show. And when we come back on the other side, we're going to get to that Kalen DeBoer audio from yesterday.
At RexMD.com, we've made the process fast, easy, and affordable. Visit RexMD.com right now to get started. That's REXMD.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly sunny today with a warm afternoon, the high around 80. Fair tonight, the low 61. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, the high 81. Very warm on Thursday, partially sunny. The chance of a shower Thursday night, the high at 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 67 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
All right, it's 10:36. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris, Chase Brumfeld. And right now, we're going to get to Kalen DeBoer, who spoke yesterday morning to the Monday Morning Quarterback Club over in Birmingham and also did a little media session with reporters. And we've got that audio for you now. So no press conference yesterday, but Coach DeBoer speaking with the media over in Birmingham at the Monday Morning Quarterback Club.
Speaking engagements, and I know our staff's got a little bit of that going on too, as well as some opportunities to get out and do some recruiting, especially later in the week. So good time for our guys. I think two-thirds of the week, two-thirds of the way through the season, just heading into November here, coming off a win, and time to get healthy and just go lay it on the line. Always focusing on getting better, and the guys I think have a good mindset about that. They have all season long. So excited for the rest of the season and what comes with it.
When does preparation for LSU start, or how's that factored in?
Yeah, the staff will be working on that already with the game planning here today. And, we'll get into practice by Wednesday and Thursday. We do have fall break at the end, so there's no classes at the end of the week. But, give the guys get today away as far as the players concerned, and we'll get back into the weight room and do some stuff tomorrow.
Coach, how big was that win now that you had a few days to look at it, going into a bye week with what everyone's saying is a make-or-break game against LSU coming up?
Yeah, that's the way we're looking at every single one of them. Got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and we preach that just as far as emphasizing strain, when it comes to just what we do every day, no matter what the situation is. But, now we're really in that moment. And, I thought we passed the first test as far as it being in that kind of time of being uncomfortable. And the guys really honed in on what they can control. And that was a lot of focus, all the work that's needed to prepare to be great on Saturday. And, we took a step. Continue to be a work in progress. We'll always be that way. I don't care how good you are. But I'm proud of the way that they have continued to respond each and every time and everything we ask them to do.
Do you have a further update on Cole? And then also just you kind of used two guys in replacement of him at punt return. What do you see in punt return if he's not able to play?
Yeah, I don't have an update on him. That'll probably be later today. And then, with Ryan and Bach in particular, just, rotating those guys, really it's probably more about who we're comfortable with. There's a little bit with what we're trying to do specifically, but it's just box someone we're very comfortable with, and rotated Ryan in there too. So both of them are guys we trust.
Are you looking to maybe settle on one, or do you like that rotation based on different situations in the game?
Yeah, I think Bach was the first one we threw out there, so and some of it might just be the situation. Are we just looking to get it caught? Are we looking for an explosive play? Who seems comfortable back there? What's the week been like as far as those guys and their consistency? Cole's been that way, and that's why he was that guy. Up until we could play him. So, we're comfortable with both those guys.
Seems like the scope of this LSU game is kind of already answered about like the winner go home type atmosphere that could be going down. I'm curious, how do you keep this LSU game kind of level and kind of keep your guys, like, even if from the outside it could be a winner go home in terms of the playoff, like, how do you make sure you guys stay level and kind of the approach?
Yeah, whether that is what it is or not, that's how we're going to approach it, even though we really don't need to say too much in regards to that. We're just focusing on what we can do right now in the moment, and really honing in on the kind of the mindset that you're only as good as your last play, you're only as good as your last game. And so take the things and learn from the Missouri game just like we would everything else, but really just we got to go out and play our best game that we possibly can against LSU, and that goes back to the work that's got to be done between now and then. So the pressure is naturally going to be there for every game. We can't put added pressure onto ourselves. We just got to go out and play, be our best. That comes through confidence and in the prep that you put in.
Was crowd noise at all a factor in Tennessee? And then if so, what do you learn from it heading into another hostile environment in Tiger City?
Yeah, you'd love to say it wasn't, but I think it arguably was. I think there's right off the bat some issues with the snap count and things like that. So I think we worked into it. We'll continue to do the things in the week of preparation to mimic that and give us as many snaps as possible where you really relying on silent cadences and so forth, prepare for the hardest scenarios, and I felt like we did a good job of that, but we got in the moment and we struggled, especially early on.
There was a pretty intense coaching moment you had with Rock Montgomery at the end of that game that was on TV. Kind of got up close to him. Just what was that about, and what was the message there?
With
2 minute warning
Rock
at the end of the game, yeah, Rock.
Oh, at the end of the game?
Yeah. That drive was high, kind of running off the clock.
I don't even remember. I think I do remember. Just things that are happening, that you just want to be better at. Just the moments that, that we were going through, and I just felt like there was some things we could be better with how we were handling and being composed. That's the expectation for everyone. It doesn't matter whether you're on the field the first snap, the end of the game, up or down. We just want to, we've been emphasizing doing things the right way and playing to the standard, and that's what that was all about. But Rock's a great kid, gives everything he has to the program. So it's not specifically about him; it's just about everyone.
Coach, what are your thoughts on the defense in the last few weeks and what Coach Wallach's approach has been?
Just stay the course, and I think you see success come with guys working together. I thought they did a nice job trying to piece it together, especially going to the Tennessee week. You're always disappointed, especially when you come out short. But I thought the staff did a nice job trying to simplify things, move some pieces around. We had to have a plan A, plan B, plan C for guys in case injuries presented themselves at certain positions. But there's been some cross-training of positions that I think guys really, you can kind of almost see that's going to be something that they might be down the road. I think we maybe envisioned that for some of them. We just have to get to some of those things sooner than what we probably anticipated, and that being right now. So the mindset, getting the shutout was big for them. We threw some guys back out there that maybe weren't in that drive at that moment, and that was important to me to get that shutout. Called timeout. I wanted to see what they were going to do, so we could specifically get our feet in the dirt and play ball and try to preserve the shutout. So, that drive was disappointing because we threw some new faces in and, gave up, I believe, 3 explosives, and I think there was maybe only 4 in the total game, 1 before that. So, the expectation of 1 yard being too many is continuing to evolve. And that, giving up no points is what the expectation is for our defense. And so I thought we took a step in the right direction there. We got to keep building on it. The turnovers and getting those takeaways has been huge, especially the last 3 weeks. So, I love that about what they're doing too.
On Richard Young's long run, Ty Simpson almost matches him step for step, trying to make a block, I guess, downfield. Just how encouraging is that to see, and just, what have you seen from him in just in terms of mental aspect? Yeah,
I saw that too. And not just Ty, but that was a great effort on his end. And we just got a lot of guys that just want it so bad for the team. And when they get their opportunities, and that was one for Ty, getting down the field, and he can run too, and we saw that. But just team players wanting to do everything they can to help their teammates out. And that was a great example for sure.
You give him a hard time about quarterback blocking at all? Or?
I'm going to be all about it. Okay. You got to be smart, right? But he's given great effort, and you're never going to take that away from those guys.
Thanks, guys.
You bet. Thank you. Roll Tide.
All right, great stuff there from Alabama head football coach Kalen DeBoer. Glad we could bring that to you this morning as he spoke on Monday over in Birmingham. It's 10:45 here on the Gary Harris Show. And we've got one segment to go. We're wide open in the next segment. So why don't we light up that Pinnacle Park at North River hotline and get some phone calls in here in the next segment, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. Hey, I tell you what, when it comes to lunch, which is right around the corner, I would really like you to give Billy's a try while we've got this incredible weather going on. Sitting out on that outdoor patio at lunch is just so cool. Not only is the food great, but that is just a great place to enjoy this beautiful weather. Downtown historic Northport, Billy's Sports Grill, right there on Main Avenue. Get on over there for lunch and sit outside and enjoy this gorgeous weather. All right, we'll be back to wrap up the Gary Harris Show. Let's get some phone calls in here, 205-342-9904. We'll be back after this.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m., The Martin Houston Show.
Join the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care, for a Wednesday edition of the program. We'll continue to talk about Alabama, Mizzou. We'll talk about what Alabama needs to get accomplished during bye week. We welcome your calls at 205-342-9904. That's the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline. We'll also continue to break down the rest of the SEC in 2024. Those conversations and more right here on your home for
fan favorites like juicy burgers and fresh salads. Walk-On's Sports Bistro for the win. Located at 675 Skyland East Boulevard.
365 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow truck, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on.
Home for Alabama basketball. Presented in part by BMW of Tuscaloosa and by Pearl River Resort in Choctaw, Mississippi.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house.
100% satisfaction and appointments set around your schedule. Give us a call for all your steam cleaning needs, 205-553-9460. Houston Hydro Steam. Quality work you can stand on.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly sunny today with a warm afternoon, the high around 80. Fair tonight, the low 61. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, the high 81. Very warm on Thursday, partially sunny. The chance of a shower Thursday night, the high at 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 66 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The best place for your high school football coverage is right here on Tide 100.9 and online on Tide100.9.com.
All right, 10:51. We got about 5 minutes left here on the Gary Harris Show, and that's time to jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and welcome in Robbie. Hey, Robbie, what's going on, man?
Hey, Gary, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. How's Stryker?
Good. I actually had another good night in a row, so happy about that.
That's awesome.
Take the stress off us while we're sleeping.
Yeah, man. That is good news.
Yeah. Got one thing I want to start off by telling Sarah Ashley Barker, congratulations, being Naismith Player of the Year watch. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Honor for her.
Absolutely.
His daughter. That's awesome. And I sent you some information on the baseball. That was a split with Florida State. So nice little start to see what we got coming back. They look like they're going to be very competitive again this year. And saw the led off with a home run. So I don't know what it is about Coach Vaughn getting these leadoff guys that know how to start the game right with some pop. So a lot of people didn't know they were playing because unless you had the app, you couldn't see that they played Florida State at their park in front of 4,000 people.
Yeah, how about that? What a great environment for baseball during football season to get for this team to be able to go down there and play in front of that many fans. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you know why? Florida State's hurt football, so the fans were starving to see something good. So Florida State's usually really good at baseball. So, but they do come home. If you're not traveling to go see LSU and Bama, then they will be at home playing Clemson at the Joe the 9th. So hopefully some fans come out and see the baseball team too. A lot of week with basketball starting and everything, which is going to be great. Now, football, you're a lot more confident than me. We do have to win out for sure. Starts with LSU, which is going to be, that night game. I know you've been there. It's loud as anything.
I've been there many times, and it is.
Yeah,
it is an incredible environment. But I'll tell you what, man, Alabama's track record down there is unmatched. Not saying that has anything to do with this year's game, but Alabama's gone down there and broken LSU's hearts many a Saturday night, and they've got a great record down there.
Yep, that's usually understated. So let's hope we can get that. I hope we keep playing like we did against Missouri. That was a good start to getting this team back. So I just still think we need a lot of help. We still got Tennessee ahead of us that we lost to. They've got to lose one or two more to me. Plus the fact that Alabama got in last year, and I don't know what these voters are going to say. Like, oh, we let them in last year. We're not going to do it this year. We got to win out. Let's see what happens. But I'm ready to see what happens. Let's see how they end up in this votes. Then the votes come out next week. Or is it?
Yeah. We'll get the first playoff poll and kind of see where we're at. But as you've alluded to, and I have too, Robbie, the bottom line is you got to take care of your own business. You got to win. I just feel like, just like last year, I said that, with no basis for anything other than it's Alabama. If Alabama runs the table here and has wins over LSU and Georgia at 10-2, I'm betting on Alabama getting into playoffs, man. It may not look like it when the rankings come out. It may not be trending in that direction. But if Alabama keeps winning, I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think they would get some help if South Carolina beats Texas A&M. Would that help their?
Oh, that would be huge. That would be great for Alabama, man. I mean, and listen, that's a tough spot that A&M's in right now because they are rolling. Yeah. They look good, but going to South Carolina with that defense at home, they've got a great home field advantage too. I think A&M had better lock up and buckle down pretty good because they're gonna get a dose of South Carolina. That's gonna be a competitive game, I think.
That's gonna be a very good game. I think at home at night, that's another place that gets rowdy. And then what they finish up with Texas. So A&M's got a tough schedule still too. So we need some help, but we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward.
All right, Robbie. Appreciate the update, buddy.
All right, Gary.
Good to hear from you. 10:55, perfect timing as we get ready to wrap it up. Real quickly, I will run down the schedule for you, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow. Ole Miss is at Arkansas, 11 a.m. on ESPN. Vanderbilt's at Auburn, 11:45 on the SEC Network. Maine is at Oklahoma, 1:30 on ESPN. You've got our ESPN Plus, I should say. That's ESPN Plus. Florida, Georgia, of course, the big one. 2:30 on ABC on Saturday down in Jacksonville. UMass at Mississippi State, 3:15 on the SEC Network. A&M at South Carolina, as Robbie alluded to, night game in Columbia, 6:30 at Williams-Brice on ABC, and Kentucky at Tennessee, 6:45 Saturday night on the SEC Network. So that's the schedule. As I said, we'll break it down more as we go into the week with point spreads and all of that stuff. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. I want to thank Chase for his great work. Appreciate you tuning in. A reminder to catch me on TV tonight with the local sports and with Rodney Orr for Tider Insider TV at 6:30 on WVUA 23. And back here tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of the Gary Harris Show. We'll talk NASCAR with Matt Coulter. A lot going on there, obviously. We'll have Larry the Music Man and more. That's tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show. T-Town Sports Daily is coming up next at 11 a.m., followed by the Miller's Edge from noon until 2. Then Ryan Fowler will take you home with the game 2 until 6 this afternoon. We'll start it all back up in the morning. Our all-local, all-day sports talk lineup in the morning, 6 a.m. with the Martin Houston Show, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Wimp and Barry inside the locker room. And as I said, the Gary Harris Show tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you again in the morning.
For listening to the